I am a proud 2000s anime girl. I was there on the front lines when One Piece and Naruto dropped on Toonami in 2005. And I was there when Mare was still a thing. But if I had to name the one defining aspect of being a 2000s anime fan, it was all of that Westame. Or anime-inspired cartoons for all you yops in the house. We talkin' them Avatar The Last Airbender, Teen Titans, Sans Go, Code Lyoko, Samurai Jack, Batman Beyond, Megas XLR. God damn you, IRS! All of these were some of the many I can account for in my nostalgia arsenal. Wakfu, however, was not one of them, Chief. With 70 episodes to its name and counting, 2009's Wakfu was a French show I heard vaguely about, but never got around to checking it out. In hindsight, I still have no idea why I thought the show got an English dub earlier than it actually did. It's probably because the cult following of this show runs that deep, and it was the lost Westame no one was watching, blah 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 blah. While I only decided to watch the first 2 seasons, I still enjoyed what I saw. But something has always bugged me. Yugo, everyone's precious portal boy, is central to the show objectively, right? With his quest to learn about his people, origins, and birthright, while his colorful band of shonen-esque friendship pals help him along the way. He's the focus of the intro, the advertising, and we know that he's going to be some kind of chosen one, with enough potential to defeat any villain he's going to face. And yet, I never really saw him as a narratively strong protagonist. That honor instead goes to the series' comic relief, Percedal, who, completely runs away with the show sometimes. So by request, and to thank Meta on Discord, and to congratulate Ankama Animation for greenlighting Season 4 on Kickstarter, I come to you folks with a video about Percedal, and how him being the true MVP of Wakfu helps and hurts the series. And while I'm at it, go over my shopping list of salty nitpicks I think should be fixed for Season 4. This will inevitably require me to spoil all this country fried tofu. I will be focusing mostly on the first 2 seasons, then maybe take a snippet or 2 from Season 3, which I decided to skim around with the help of Wikipedia because I heard so much about how much it sucked. Nonetheless, here's your spoiler warning for an old-ass show so I don't get criticized later for not being considerate enough. Okay, now let's get this cabal rolling already. The first idea I want to lay down about Percedal is how mayday his initial character potential was in relation to Yugo's chosen one energy. Percedal is the Knight of the Order of the Guardians of Shushus. Man, it's a long-ass name. Entrusted to essentially babysit the Demon Lord Rubalak so he doesn't escape and commit to the invasion of the Body Snatchers plotline. His best traits akin to his bravery, versatility, and gun-ho nature to keep on trucking, while his worst traits akin to him being a yop. That's with an L, people. Or that stereotypical race of humanoids that put more effort into their brawn than their brains. Now, class, if you take your anime character cookbook out to page 42 and preheat your oven to gender reveal barbecue, then you'll recognize that Percedal has all the makings of a rising hero. A rising hero, or whatever the actual term is for this type of protagonist, because fuck if I know the vocab, is your Gons, Yusuke's, and Kenichis of the anime world. Shonen protagonists who either start off as your everyman or inept fighter and slowly work their way up to greatness for whatever life throws at them. Sure, you might find out later that they come from some OP origins, like badass parents for example, but the point is that to me, these characters weren't owed their destinies, like chosen ones would be. Instead, either by the goals that drive them or through a series of unexpected mishaps, have to use good old elbow grease to be the best shonen protagonists they can be. Whatever that means to them. And for someone like Percedal, he's essentially a dumber Ichigo, but instead of wanting to get stronger to protect his family, it's to repay a life debt to a 12-year-old who exorcised a demon from his forehead. It's a lot to pack here for a show who claims a brotherhood filled with characters needing development, and while there are plenty of characters in other shows who fall alongside the protagonist with deep backstories and lore, Percedal's potential as a rising hero has given the creators an excuse to expand his storyline to the point that it rivals Yugo's. TLD, TL, the main reason Percedal is more relevant in my eyes than Yugo is because he gets too much damn screen time, making the entire plot ratio out of whack. Foo. Let's look at the scoreboard, shall we? Season 1, with just warming up the waters as we get used to the characters. The Brotherhood conveniently meets up at Yugo's hometown for various reasons that the show establishes why they're on a journey in the first place. Princess Amala bitch wants to adventure about and show her big brother how she ain't no fuddy-duddy princess who sits on her ass all day, though she's doing plenty of being an annoying ass just by existing. As her bodyguard Evangeline follows behind to keep her sorta in check. While Raoul is that old man treasure hunter who's always looking to bag some coin and always has some sort of skill or connection up his sleeve. Yugo's journey to find his true family while Steampunk Fitbit tracks them down sets the framework for what we expect from him and his ragtag fellows. If only that framework wasn't soiled in. And time. When I mean the plot ratio is off in terms of Percedal getting way too much screen time, I mean it feels so much in the Yop's favor. Regardless if Percedal was the focus of an episode or not, as long as he was present, I surprisingly gave a damn. While Season 1's pacing of Percedal was focusing more on him as a comic relief, I was surprised by the amounts of characterization being slowly built over time that I could never get bored of the dude. I even go as far in saying he delivers the best moments in the show, well, not tied with the villain's motives, of course. Like in one episode, he confronts the Brotherhood about his quote-unquote ineptitude and how just because his solutions may look archaic, comedic, or unlikely to work, when it comes to battle, he knows what he's doing. And don't get me started on the Carnival episode in Season 2, for that not only showed more of his good points, but brought some drama with his main love interest and elven warrior companion, Evangeline. To be honest, Evangeline's character is a slippery slope when it comes in relation to Percedal's journey. At best, she's a cool character who will go with her duty and gut to save her friends and the day. But at worst, she's a stuck-up, entitled archetype of the boys will be boys variety. I guess I feel bad for disliking her flaws because I feel that from Season 2 onward, Evangeline's character growth was heavily tied to Percedal's. She never got out of the habit of completely being so stuck up. Sure, there were bits and pieces of her working on that aspect of herself, but the conflict of the boys will do things the girls don't like, the girls nag, and this starts the boys versus girls retaliation. Maybe the writers kept doing this to Evangeline because she became nothing more than a love interest at some point when everyone else in the show had their own goals and motives separate from the group. But this only made things out as if she had a big dose of nagging spouse syndrome. Well, at least it's not Season 3 where she got downgraded into a preggers damsel in distress. Then I'll take that nagging any day. The point is, whenever Evangeline was a focus, Dally was also a focus, which gave him more screen time, crushing more of Yugo's relevancy. Also, I think the creators had a large investment in the two characters, like how Steven Universe had a heavy bias to Lars and Sadie, but in Wakfu, that bias comes out at the cost of, oh, I don't know, killing off Percedal twice in the series only to retcon the death soon after? Like, come on! Now you're not even trying to hide the plot armor. This is just as convincing as Armin and the Colossal Titan and how he got out of that situation completely unscathed. Wait a minute. I don't remember why I put this in the script, but we're just gonna keep it anyway for the sake of archival reasons. You can criticize me about that line in the comments below, thank you very much. Luckily for me, I like Percedal, so most of my complaints about his dominance in the show is mute, as long as the enjoyment is solid. Though, let's keep it 100, man. Percedal only really steals the show because Yugo is a bad protagonist. Yes, I said it. Buckle up, buckaroos, for I have a hot take for you. Yugo should have never, ever been the main character for how little the show treats his character arc. For one, Yugo is the third, count 'em, third least developed character of the Brotherhood, behind Percedal the Yop and Rule the Old Man. Yes, the old Sage character, who's not supposed to get character development, got more character development than the protagonist in the first 2 seasons. If it wasn't for the fact that Adamai and Amalie barely get time to develop at all, it would really boggle my mind on how anyone could relate to Yugo. Personally, I chalk the issue up to his simplistic start as a chosen one protagonist. He was a cute kid, don't get me wrong, but it's nothing you haven't seen before in other shows. His simplistic nature was too simple, as I felt a lack of agency to be the main character and a slew of just hanging around his pals, which can work in some aspects, but not here. Now, in his defense, the Yugo time we do get in bits of Season 1, the latter half of Season 2, and the entirety of the 3-part OVA bridging Seasons 2 and 3, which when I mean Yugo time, I mean solo Yugo time without any other characters around, really helped color Yugo's perspective as a chosen one and his inner thoughts involving the Eliatrope and the villains involved. I definitely recognize that. But I think it was a bad idea to reserve most of his early character development from exposition of other characters or flashbacks than Yugo himself. Villains especially carry his growth a bunch in comparison to Percedal, who seems to grow every time he interacts with a new place or ideal. It felt more natural compared to Yugo's slow burn of info, as some of the best Yugo moments only could happen when you separate him from the rest of the cast. Like during the Canyon training arc. Sometimes I wonder if the reset shot him in the foot, as we learn after some point in the series that Yugo and Adamai are immortals who were once super badass protectors of their people. And only after suffering heavy damage from alien spooter dudes did they end up resetting back into an egg state. Hence the beginning of the series. Where is that Yugo? I want to see more of that one, please, who had all of these memories and ideals and decision making. I mean, we get a piece of that at the climax of Season 2 when he faces White Chaos Dragon guy, and I want more. The few bits we already have are cool, and I'd rather get that than watching him grow up to crush on Leaf Bitch, who I still to this day don't understand why the people thirst for her on Rule 34. She isn't sexy, people, she's a brat, and a brat she will always be. She's annoying, her character seems stagnant, and all I want to do is have her shut the fuck up! To clarify before I move on, I do like the fact that this goes by a chosen one structure, and he has to reset everything. But though I would like it if he still had some memories of his time before the egg resetting thing. I just think not everything should have been wiped from the start, because it just leaves us with a character that takes way too long to come into his own compared to another character who's supposed to be a comic relief, but he ends up outshining his entire cast every time he's on screen. This is not counting the 3-part OVA between Seasons 2 and 3, which follows mostly Yugo and Adamai, his dragon brother. Now, raise your hand if you remember he had a brother, because the show definitely didn't for the majority of the time. Once he was introduced at the climax of Season 1, Adamai has been on the sideline only chiming in to give his opinion on certain things. Also, I kinda hate how even he points out in-universe how Yugo and company leave him to babysit on the sidelines as he ponders why Seed people have to keep something Adamai's people own from them. Because he's rarely around on adventures, it gave me a lack of care for Adamai as a character, even when he was propped up to become a major antagonist of Season 3, with his Sasuke phase going on. It makes me wish that Adamai was Yugo's Evangeline. No, not like that, but giving him someone to properly bounce off of for a good length of time, instead of shafting the little blue shit till the plot demanded it. It would help curb the plot ratio problem at least. For now, Yugo still needs more work done to him, and while the OVA gave us the best shot we will get of Yugo being the main protagonist, I want Season 4 of Wakfu to really make me say, whoa man, current Yugo is so engagingly badass that I don't care if he's trying to date a pile of hot garbage. Otherwise, I think I'll stick with Percedal and his never-ending dying plot armor and continuing bromance with his possessed demon sword. Percedal does make Wakfu an enjoyable ride for those not completely invested in Yugo's chosen one journey. In my opinion, it hammers down the idea that Wakfu is better watched with a group of friends, where everyone can pick and even roleplay a character they relate to, which makes the series more interactive. Almost as if this isn't based off an MMORPG that no one watching the show really played. But as much as I enjoyed Percedal, Evangeline, and all their antics, I thought the show should have not made them so prominent, because they only highlight some of the series' worst flaws on top of how slow burning Yugo's character growth was. And that's saying a lot given how many episodes this series has. I thought distancing Yugo from the Brotherhood in Season 1 and the 3-part OVA were a step in the right direction, but I wish more was done early on instead of getting the same distressed town and Gabal filler episodes. Hopefully Season 4 balances the Yugo personal story beats and gives everyone who was waiting on Kickstarter so long something to look forward to. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going onto Twitter to see if anyone else remembers Mare as a series and not as some twisted acid dream about a metal ball with a mustache. This show is real, people, and my 2000s pandering will be recognized. Misfit, ow!